So, you're ready to tackle exponential word problems. Before we begin, there are a couple things you need to remember before you can look at these word problems. The first thing is that exponential functions always have a pattern of multiplying or dividing. So before we start to write equations from these word problems, we have to make sure that it's an exponential function. And some words that indicate multiplying or dividing are words like double, triple, cut in half. Those type of words indicate exponential functions. The second thing that we need to remember before we begin writing these equations from word problems is what the equation format is for an exponential function. And remember, that is y equals a times b to the x, where the a is your starting value, which again is the same as your y-intercept, and where b is your common ratio. And remember, your common ratio is really just what are you multiplying by every single time, or what are you dividing by every single time. So, now that we have these things in mind, let's look at a couple of examples. First example, a rumor is spreading at North High School. On the first day, only 4 people had heard the rumor. Each day, the amount of people who heard the rumor tripled. So right away I see this word tripled, which tells me that yes, this is going to be an exponential function. In fact, the word triple tells me that every single day, this rumor is growing by 3 times the number of people. Now the other thing I need to know before I can write an equation is I need to know what my starting value was. Well, it says on the first day, only 4 people had heard the rumor. So I now have my starting value, which is 4, and I have my common ratio, which is 3, because it's tripling every day. So I can write this equation that it's asking for in part A. It says, write an equation representing the number of people P who heard the rumor after D number of days. So I want to know how many people. Well, it started with 4 people, but then every day it was tripling. So there's my function. P equals 4 times 3 to the power of D. Now part B says, after 5 days, how many people had heard the rumor? Justify your answer. So I'm going to use this equation that I just wrote above. So P equals 4 times 3. But instead of using the D as day, I'm going to use 5 days, because I want to know how many people have heard the rumor after 5 days. And then I can go ahead and type this in my calculator. If I type in 4 times 3, use my caret button, 5, my calculator will tell me that 972 people have already heard the rumor at North High School after just 5 days. Now, part B does ask me to justify my answer, and in this case, the justification of my answer is that I showed my math work. So I've done everything that this question has asked me to do. Our next example. Miss Brackmeyer started the semester with 100 pencils. Each week, half of the pencils are gone. So before I begin, I have to find my key pieces of information. First, I need to look for essential words to tell me that it's going to be an exponential function. Well, I see this word half. So that tells me that every day, Miss Brackmeyer is losing half of her pencils, which means she's dividing by 2 every single day. And her starting value, she started the semester with 100 pencils. So let's write an equation representing the number of pencils P Miss Brackmeyer will have left after W number of weeks. So how many pencils she has. She started with 100, but then she's losing half of them every week. Part B. After 10 weeks, how many pencils does Miss Brackmeyer have left? Justify your answer. So again, we're going to use the equation that we just wrote to figure out how many pencils I will have after 10 weeks. Again, notice that instead of my W, I plugged in the number 10 because I want to know how many she has after 10 weeks. Again, type this into your calculator using your caret button. 100 times, sorry about that, it's going to be 100 times, make sure you use parentheses around your fraction, caret 10. And my calculator will tell me that that is 0.097 pencils. Well, as a realistic human being, I know that there's no such thing as 0.079 pencils. So in this case, even though I did show my math work, when it asked me to justify my answer, my math work doesn't really justify an answer of 0.097 pencils because that's not viable. So I'm going to write a sentence that would say, Miss Brackmeyer would have 0 pencils left. And now you know how to write equations from word problems.